All right, in this section, we're going to take a look at posture and compliance. This is one of those areas that I feel a lot of enterprises kind of fall short on whenever it comes to deploying a security policy, because we could protect the wired environment and the wireless environment great at the office. We use enterprise EAP. From the wireless side, there's unique encryption keys between the clients and the access points, as long as we're doing that properly with like EAP TLS or PEEP TLS or PEEP. And on the wired side, we've got a building and a perimeter and maybe security guards, or maybe, we've got real estate that's protecting the network from people coming in, right? So that sounds good. And with the rest of the course, we just deployed wired access as well. So I can't just plug into a port and get an IP address, okay? But the other thing that happens is all we've really done with that wired access so far, and wireless access, which is a critical step, is we've validated that the person is who they're supposed to be, and we know who it is that's connecting to our network. That's a big plus. But there's still another issue. Let's say that Sally, she works in accounting, and she's very good at the accounting system. She's very good at her job, but she's not very good with, just cybersecurity awareness, let's say. And so Sally takes her laptop home. Maybe she works off the docking station at the office, takes her laptop home, and she needs to, she wanted to get some work done over the weekend. Well, she loves cat videos, okay? And she downloaded the wrong cat video, and she got malware on her laptop. She didn't know it, of course, and she kept doing her job. Well, then she brings that device back into the office the next day. She's going to get through the security guard. She's going to get in the office, the badge readers. She's going to be able to get to her office, which is an accounting group, and she's going to be able to plug into her docking station and get on the wired network because she's got a valid certificate or valid authentication. There's the dilemma, okay? If just because we've proven who gets on the network and we made sure that the device is trusted and the user is trusted, that's a trusted user and a trusted device that just brought in malware. So you're probably thinking, well, Chris, that's just antivirus, and that's antivirus's job. And you're right. That's antivirus, anti-malware's job. But wouldn't it be nice to know that the antivirus was installed and that the definitions were up to date, right? Maybe anti-malware was installed and those definitions were up to date. And maybe that the hard drive's encrypted, okay? Or maybe the infection came from USB, and we've got a policy to make sure USB is not enabled on our devices. I mean, you get the point. But wouldn't it be nice to know that before they ever get an IP address and can spread that throughout the network? And also for you VPN users, wouldn't it be nice to know that before somebody VPNs to our network and gets access, their device is compliant too? See, that's the cool thing here with ICE, because we can do compliance checks any access method you connect to, wired, wireless, or VPN. So if you want on the network, we want to trust you. We do, because you've got a certificate and or valid credentials. That's part one. But we also want to make sure that that device is current on its security requirements, that it met its security objective. Welcome to posture and compliance. Let's take a look at this. All right. So to reiterate, we want to validate devices meet their security policy requirements. And that is, if we mandate that computer hard drives should be encrypted, that we use a particular antivirus that we trust, okay, that we use a particular security agent on the computer that we trust, that the operating system is also patched. How about that? That the firewall is enabled, okay? Those types of things we can mandate, and they probably already are mandated for a written security policy for your organization, or at least that's what you've shared with everybody should be the case. I've found a lot of enterprises actually don't have a really well-written security policy, at least on paper somewhere that anybody can read or has read, unfortunately. But wouldn't it be nice to take those critical functions again, and that's what we're building in ICE, right? We're going to build that out in a policy. So, and here's the thing. The beauty of this is if we do it right, then we can make sure not only does the device meet its objective, okay, and has that encrypted hard drive, has antivirus, Windows is up to date, Windows is patched, all those key things that let the majority of threats in this world in, then we are taking that off of, I mean, that's just like should give you some sleep at night if you're in the security division, right? Because it's not just on a piece of paper. We're mandating it before the user gets an IP address and can spread potential infections to other people on our network. Okay. And here's the other beautiful thing about it. If we do our jobs right, then if the devices do not meet compliance, then we will give users a ability to self-heal their devices. Well, I don't want to say self-heal, but to remedy the situation, right? Remediation. We throw them in remediation with a new DACL, change of authorization, something like that. We give them access to the antivirus update server and to maybe Windows update server or OS update, whatever the case is. We give them the ability to fix it and a timer to fix it, okay? And then they can take that off of support's plate. So this is a very critical step in my opinion. Here's the thing, and I've talked about the beauty of it. The downside is that it does take some expertise to get set up right. To set it up, especially in a large enterprise where you've got clusters of PSNs, for example. Also, it takes some time to set it up right for all the supporting things that go with it, right? All the supporting technologies. Are we going out to these AV servers? Are those set up? Are we going out to these update servers? Are those set up properly? Do we have DACLs and do we have restrictions and mappings and yada, yada, yada? You get my point. But, and I guess one other requirement, let's just say, is that you gotta have ICE Apex licensing. And now the Advantage Plus licensing, right? Or Premier licensing. I'm losing my mind over it. But the cool thing is once you have this, that's peace of mind. At least to me. For I know my network access control and devices connected to my network are compliant. That's freaking awesome. All right. Now, again, we've talked about the benefits. There's a few agent types. We're going to go into more detail on the next slide. Compliance status is unknown, known, and compliant. This is one of those things during setup you want to think out properly because we want users to have the best user experience possible. Okay. The other thing is if users are going to provisioning portals, which we may send them to get compliant, we want to carefully select our certificates we're going to use for that because we want their device, whether it's compliant or not, to be able to reach the portal to get compliant. So again, it takes a little bit of skill to set that up, but that's why you're here and that's why you're learning this. Okay. So we want to choose agents carefully. What are the agent options? So for far back as I can remember, man, I used to deploy Cisco Secure ACS server, and it was part of Mars, right? Was it Mars? I think that was, yeah. I don't even remember the freaking acronym at the moment, but it was a portfolio of several products, okay? And the compliance server was separate from ACS, right? So if you go back and watch some of my YouTube videos over the history of ICE, right? We started with the ACS server, and then we took ACS, we took the web, guest server, we took the NAC server, which was this guy, and they had a hexatwal, out came ICE, right? All right, so the agent options have been around for a long time. The secure AnyConnect secure mobility client is kind of the agent you want nowadays for Windows and Mac devices, for corporate owned devices. But you got options, okay? And you may use more than one agent. Here's one. For corporate owned devices, I like just pushing AnyConnect for a couple of reasons. A lot of the enterprises I work with are using Cisco ASAs at the edge. We're also, you're going to have that anyway. So you're going to have the secure mobility client pretty much installed anyway, if that's the case. And then the AnyConnect agent is just pops up as a little widget there, right? This guy can get long, by the way. If you're using like Umbrella, DNS security, cloud security, and all that kind of stuff, you'll see AnyConnect can connect to a lot of things. I'll just put it that way. Secure mobility is the kind of the core package that everything else is built off of. But I like that a lot as the agent to go with for corporate owned Windows and Mac devices, for sure. And you're going to get the most from it as well. It can do the most checks on your devices. It's an agent. It's running all the time. Okay. So you don't have to, use resources every time you connect. Basically, that guy's ready to give a report the minute he connects to the network. He sends over to ICE, hey, I'm installed, I'm compliant, life is good. Okay. Or he could say, you know what, we've got viruses in the quarantine. And then ICE could go, okay, we'll remediate that. Delete those viruses from quarantine, then you can connect, right? So, but he's running all the time. And even if you're not connected to VPN, obviously, but he's running on your device all the time to help you stay secure, okay? Now, you see all the packages that you could install with VPN, by the way. So if you download the package for Windows or the package for Mac, you're going to see several sub-options of installers. The Secure Mobility Client is required. Now, there are some users out there. There are some enterprises we work with that use like Palo Alto for VPN, and they don't want to see the Secure Mobility Client as a VPN agent. There is a very quick XML script we can use to hide the VPN portion of the agent. So you've still got to have it, but you don't have to show it. Okay. So, but these are some of the options, and do not install all of these unless you need them and you know what they are and you're deploying these. But as you see, you got Cloud Web Security, Umbrella Roaming, you got the VPN Posture, that's the host scan, that's what we're doing. And then you got the NAM, if you're doing like EAP chaining, for example, that's a very capable EAP supplicant that you can deploy to your devices as well. But the majority of enterprises we work with, I will say, standardize on the Windows supplicant provisioning because it's very easy with GPO. Okay, very easy to just push that out. It's not too bad to push out AnyConnect with GPO as well, or some other agent deployment tool. But bottom line is the installable agent on the devices is what I would recommend you guys standardize on for any corporate owned PCs and Macs. Okay. Now, if you have BYOD devices that are PC and Macs and not your mobile devices, well then you can use, of course, the web agent. Okay. The web agent, they authenticate successfully. Once they've authenticated successfully to the network, the web agent can run its test. It can run its checks. There's not quite as many checks that are supported for the temporal agent as there is for the installable agent. But it's also good for, let's say you got contractors working with you. They may not want to install your security agent on their PC. I know as an independent consultant for working, well, at Active Expert, we work for dozens and dozens of companies and enterprises. We don't want to have to install an agent for all these guys on our laptops, right? Some of our clients actually issue us a laptop to work with them. Others are like, you can use whatever you want to connect to us. But, you get the point. You might not want to have to deal with that. So the temporal agent makes sense because I can, as long as their authentication is valid, pop up with a little website. It runs its checks. You got to give it permission. Okay. JavaScript or ActiveX. And you'll see a remaining time on there. And it's good to go. Okay. Now, there is also the option. Some people don't want to show the agent whatsoever, and they want to use the AnyConnect agent, but they don't want to show that that's there or running or anything like that. For that, you can do what's called the AnyConnect Stealth Agent. But if you install any of these other modules outside of the outside of the VPN, the posture, okay, sorry, not VPN posture, but outside of the posture, ICE posture, there we go, then anything outside of that, then we are not, you're going to see the agent. You're going to see those in the agent, okay? Now, there's something brand new with ICE 3.0 that just came out called Agentless Posture. So let's talk a little bit about that. So there's some setup involved with this. It's not as straightforward as it sounds, because we have to have services open on our devices. We have to have a service account created to basically connect to our devices and run the checks. But it doesn't require that software be installed, but there is pre-configuration on the endpoints required to do this for sure. So for Windows, you've got to have port 5985 to access PowerShell in the client. And you've got to have PowerShell 5.1 or above. For Mac OS X, port 22, SSH to that guy. And the client must have curl 7.3 or above. So the other thing is we need authentication with local admin privileges on the devices as well. So those are some pre-requirements that must be met in order to do that. So if we do agentless posture, we're also a little bit limited on the checks we can run, but we can look for specific files. We can look for specific services running. We can look for applications running. We can look for anti-malware, firewall condition, disk encryption condition, patch management condition, that kind of thing. And it does require Windows 10. That's the other thing. So if you still have some Windows 7 out there or Windows 8, then you're going to be out of luck for that. There are some unsupported posture conditions as well. We don't give you a chance to remediate. Don't give you a grace period, anything like that. And there's no acceptable use policy because there's no agent, right? But it's a pretty cool feature for sure. And I definitely see some clients using this. Now, I don't see it working for contractors though, because they're not going to have things pre-set up like that. ICE basically needs permissions or some service account pre-set up ahead of time to be able to connect to these devices. That's going to be for corporate-owned endpoints. All right, so for compliance options for the rest of the agents we discussed, the agent for Windows and Mac, the AnyConnect agent, is the most capable. We used to actually have a separate agent called the NAC agent, which was standalone, and the Cisco Secure, the Cisco Secure Mobility Client, which was the VPN client. That was part of that previous NAC solution, like I mentioned before, in the glorious days of AnyConnect, right? No, but on AnyConnect agent on Windows, we can check for anti-malware installation, firewall installation, application inventory, hardware inventory, USB check, AV installation, version and date now, which is good. Did not have that before. Anti-spyware, version and date. Okay. The application file check, service packs and hot fixes. That's very important, by the way. There's a lot of vulnerabilities coming out all the time. You want to be able to know that those Windows updates have been patched. And now with the world of COVID, you got more mobile workforce than ever. You got to make sure that those devices, which are not connecting to the enterprise directly, are still getting those updates. So even on VPN, we can make sure they're compliant with this. I love it. That's what I love about it. Disk encryption, register check, service packs. I already mentioned that one. The service condition, is it running or not, right? Registry condition, dictionary condition. The Mac and Windows are very similar in what they can do. Okay, it's just some of the verbiage is slightly different from one to the other. Now the temporal agent, the web agent, is we can check for a lot of these things, but we do not get the full amount of checks that the AnyConnect agent can do, of course, right? So we're not looking for well, we've got process registry. There's a couple though that we can't do. Disk encryption, that's one thing. Let's see. There's a couple. Anyway, they both have their place. All right. Here's the other thing. Whenever we talked about the resources required to deploy posture and compliance, this is a very good flow chart. By the way, there is a posture deployment guide that's out there. Cisco has no shortage of documentation. Actually, in the posture in some of these areas, it's a little thinner than others. But if you look and you know how to search, it is there. There's a posture prescriptive deployment guide that's really good. It is not on ICE 3.0 specifically. It's on a 2X version, but it's still good, and it will still give you, a lot of understanding. But we're going to cover a lot of this in this course, at least to get you going with posture and get some initial checks up. So that's it for the lecture. Let's go ahead and start looking at the labs, and I will see you in the lab here in just a minute. Cheers.